So what excites you the most about being an artist in the year 2017, especially with the expanding toolbox of technology that we have at our fingertips?
I think the thing that is most exciting to me about being an artist in this day and age is the way that vision that's been around for a long time is intersecting technologies and tools to bring it to life. Mm-hmm. And for a lot of people, they might encounter a tool like, okay, well, that's interesting. What do I do with this? From my perspective, there's been a vision in place that these tools have found a way to express. So I'm extremely excited about what is about to continue to happen in that space.
Mm-hmm. And how do you see your artistic contributions as a reaction to our cultural climate and as a storytelling vehicle to bring about social change?
So the for me, the focus is kind of twofold. There's two adjacent pathways like into the same center, and one of those is through these kinds of immersive multisensory aesthetic experiences using sound and light and texture and fragrance and haptics, and the other is actually through a story and a community. Been working with several friends to develop over the last couple of years, called Constellation. And so Constellation is the first international coalition of astronauts joining forces with artists to tell the story of what happens when they go to space and look back at the planet. And they have a powerful transformative experience in that moment. As an artist, I'm drawn to that because it's a human physical shift in perspective that they've had, kind of getting off of the surface of the planet. And I think everybody thinks about, what it's like to go up into the stars. But consistently, they say the most powerful moment is when they're up there and they look back and see us. And I think that idea of showing the world itself for the first time again from a new vantage point is actually one of the most powerful ideas I've come across. And that term for that moment of transition is called the overview effect. So the overview effect is something that I think is contagious in the best way. And so I want to be an agent for taking that kind of story of a human perspective shift and how that really unquestionably reveals that we are one species on one planet with one shared future, that we're all in it together. And I think that's the message that art also can bring, is like when you see yourself in someone else's story, or you feel like, how did they know to write that? Like they're inside of my head, they're inside of my experience. And someone has that ability to articulate your story through their artistry. It's one of those moments where you really feel known. And you feel a sense of connection that is human more than it's even anything else. It is somehow we have shared this part of the human experience together, and I feel more known in the process. So for me, that's what I'm looking for. What are the embodied narratives and metaphors and the contexts in which you can invite someone into a new way of looking at the human story and how we play it out,
Yeah. That's so beautiful. And actually just a few days ago in my interview with Kenji Williams of Bella Gaia, he was talking about how, we were talking about how to contextualize a concert. So traditionally in classical music, especially in the 16, 17, 1800s, people that were attending certain concerts arrived with a similar background and knowledge of music history and theory in terms of form and structure and harmony. And so when they would come to the concert with that similar background, composers that were starting to push the envelope in terms of form and structure and harmony, it would impact the audience in a similar way. And so one of the challenges that I see as a classical performer today, if I attend a concert with a new piece of music, there's inevitably program notes, contextualizing the piece, and part of that comes from the diversity of audience that we gather, which is great. However, it requires some sort of contextualization. And so being able to see the planet from that vantage point in space immediately removes the borders and the boundaries between groups of people. And coming at artistic storytelling from that perspective is immediately contextualizing the whole story for everyone that's listening, because we all have the planet in common. And so it's that kind of setting or contextualizing that's so important, to everyone involved. So I'm very grateful for the work that you're doing. And
likewise.
Yeah.
Like we're in it together.
And I think our grandparents, so I know our grandparents would be proud. And I can't wait to see all of the new and exciting things that we do on our own paths and paths that come together in the years to come. So I can't wait.